No, you start, Ant. It's your show.
My show. Well, I want to welcome everybody to Reformed Gangsters. I'm on with my good friend Tommy Flash. We're going to talk about some mob stuff from back in the day. I hope everybody enjoys the session. Are there some wise guys that were serial killers? Yeah, there were, like Roy Demeo. You know what? I just heard a thing. I just watched the thing that Sammy the Bull put out on YouTube about Ray, and I knew Roy Demeo. You know, I met him. I met him with my father. You know, I met him. I remember when he used to walk into the Ravenite, like everybody used to get a little quiet, and he would walk in, and you know, he would say hello, and he would walk in the back to talk to Neil Delacroce. You know, my father took me to the Gemini bar a few times with Tony Lee to meet with him and his guys. He was a serial killer. You know, he would hang. You know, he was vicious. You know, he killed people outside of the mob, you know what I mean? He just was, and Sammy touched on that he was a serial killer, because Ted tried to call Sammy, I guess, a serial killer, and he was trying to make a distinction. And as nuts as it is, in that life, there is a distinction. Sammy, I don't consider Sammy a serial killer, even though he's claiming he killed 19 people, which he probably did. But, you know, he killed 19 sanctioned people that were mobbed up, that were in the, you know, that did something wrong. And, you know, and it's either, you know, you do something wrong and they tell me to clip you, you know, I'm not going to put my life up on the line for you. You're the guy that did something wrong. I'm going to clip you. I'm not going to say no. Then I'm not going to put my life on the line for you. If you knew the deal and you broke the rules, shame on you. But like guys like Roy Demeo, Tommy Karate's another guy. Was he, you know, he killed the woman, you know, his neighbor, you know, a female neighbor, he chopped her up and put her in a suitcase and buried her in Staten Island, you know. So I'm not justifying murders, don't get me wrong,
Anthony,
but like in that lifetime.
Let me stop you right there that you mentioned Tommy Karate, and I apologize, but I got to get this out. So he's a serial killer, this and that. I don't know if you know, remember Greg, Mike Greg?
Of course.
He had an issue with someone around Tommy Karate. Tony Lee jumped right in the car. The three of us went there, went to his bar, just us in Brooklyn. He wouldn't come out. Yeah. He refused to meet with Tony Lee. So, you know what? He fucking knew.
Yeah, well, he killed. Listen, my father went to his wedding. My father went to Tommy Karate's. I remember the night my father went to his wedding. You know, so there's, you know, so the mob, you know, it's, you know, like I said, there's a right way and a wrong way to do everything. That's how I was schooled, that there's a right way.
You just touched on something too that I want to talk about. So you had Sammy the Bull and Roy Demeo. I'm going to tell you the difference. My personal, I don't know if people know, but I started out with Sammy. Sammy gave me my name.
Right.
I'm going to tell you, you know, so there's a lot of tough guys, killers. I mean, there's a lot. Listen to me, your brother-in-law, Peter, a lot of guys. Prototypical wise guy is supposed to be a capable guy. What does that mean? That means, you know what? At a last resort or when ordered, he's capable of murder. Other than that, he uses his appearance, his way about life as a deterrent to stay out of trouble, this and that, and basically stay on it. But he's capable. Yeah. These guys just murder for crazy. Yeah. Sammy, you know, I've heard people now, like I said, you know, people all become experts. They know the guy. Well, I can tell you, Sammy walks down the block. Your mother would say hello to him. Your grandmother would come out. You
know, my father and John.
Yes. These other guys, they look at you. They want you to know they were fucking like fucking Charles Manson.
Yeah, you know, my father used to tell me all the time, anybody's capable of killing you. Don't underestimate anybody. You know, and I met wise guys in the city that did work. If you looked at them, you wouldn't think they were little old men. They committed murders, you know, for the mob. You know, a couple of them went on hits with my father. My father would tell me, see that guy, I did a piece of work with that guy. I did a piece of work with that guy. And you look at them and they're little old men with suits and ties on. You know what I mean?
That's what it was supposed to be. I mean, that's how I was taught. That's how you were taught.
You know, when I was a kid, my father took me in a butcher shop in Brooklyn one day, in a butcher shop. And the butcher, you know, the guy had the white thing on and blood on him. He was cutting meat. And my father went in the back with the guy. And he came back out. He goes, oh, come on. All right, come on, let's go. And we walked outside. I go, who was that guy? He said, oh, he's a wise guy. A wise guy? He goes, yeah, he was old-time wise guy. He goes, yeah, years ago, the wise guys had jobs. Yeah. The secret society.
The old bakeries, they're making pizzas during the day, throwing guys in the oven at night.
Tell me, it was a secret society. He goes, he's an old wise guy. They had jobs years ago. Yeah, you know. Now today, fast forward to the mob today, they listen, you know, someone asked me the other day if I'm afraid, if I'm this, and you know, it's not, and I'm not afraid. I mean, I'm careful. I'm not gonna put it in people's faces, you know. Are there people capable out there to kill somebody? Yeah, I know guys that are still around out there that are capable of clipping somebody without a doubt. Not many. And the ones I do know are old timers. Nobody, I don't know of anybody that's around today. These kids that are around today, these millenniums, I don't know what they're capable of doing. But yeah, there's guys out there that are capable of clipping somebody. But first of all, in this day and age, who's going to give the order? How are you going to beat all the cameras that are all over the place in friggin' doorbells? There's cameras. You know, how do you do it today? How do you even clip somebody today? I wouldn't even know how to begin. Unless you get one of them things that make you invisible, like, you know, them things, the tapes that make you invisible. How do you do it?
See what you just said? Yeah. Half of the homeless population in New York City right now is capable of murder.
Anybody, yeah, anybody.
So to your point, you know, it's just, you know, it's funny too. You talk about the intricacies, and so you say a murder. So there's 3 parts to it, and like I said, I was schooled by, you know, Tony, and by proxy, your father.
Yeah.
You, as a matter of fact, and you know, everyone around you. If you're fortunate enough, you absorb everyone around you. You understand? I absorb things from you. The people don't realize there's 3 elements. So there's the first element, the planning, and them notifying you that you're going to be on this. How do you act after that? Do you go home? Do you tell your wife, no, don't bother me now? Or do you show anxiety? That's number 1. The actual murder, how do you perform? Does it go off without a hitch? Okay. Then there's the third part, after the murder. Do you, like I said, do you go home, leave me alone? Do people say, I don't know, something's up with Anthony and Flash, they're not the same. So you got to be the same. Listen to me, after that murder, your brother-in-law, and the body, and going to see his mother and all that. After all that, I went to war bounds because my wife was on a kick then. We need to save money. I was in war bounds with her with coupons that night.
Yeah. Listen, because that was our job. That was our job. Listen, my father used to tell me all the time, it only counts when you get up out of bed and go do it.
Even kill. Even
and then you come home. But that's why the mob is so unique, because here's a group of guys that could do that and come home and sit down and have dinner with their family. Like, you know what? I saw Paul Savino, the guy that played Paulie Vario,
right,
on Goodfellas. You know, I saw him on an interview one day after Goodfellas came out. And the guy that was interviewing, I forgot who was interviewing, asked him, what was the thing that shocked him the most about mob guys? Because he said he had studied mob guys to play the part. Then they asked him, what was the thing that, he goes, the thing that surprised me the most was that here's a group of men that could go out and commit a murder and go home and eat a dish of pasta, like it was all in a day's work, and that's the mindset, that's the mindset. Like,
what would you say the biggest compliment is for us?
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you what it is.
What?
Listen, especially now, right, the internet. Okay, so everyone's an expert, this and that. So if my name comes up and someone says, Tommy Flash, he's a fucking pussy. That's a compliment.
Yeah. But years ago, when my father said to me, that guy did a piece of work, that was the biggest compliment my father could give him.
That's a compliment.
And my father had told me stories about wise guys that didn't have that frame of mind and got themselves in trouble behind hits. Who didn't show up, who got chased because they didn't show up, who showed up and thought the guy was going to get shot and the guy got hit on the head with an axe. The guy flipped out. He winded up getting shot. You know, I know a lot of stories about a lot of homicides for my old man. And he used to tell me all the time, when we went out and he would see somebody, he would always tell me if the guy did a piece of work. He would always make sure that I knew, because I guess in case I had any run-ins with the guy, you know, to make sure that I knew he was capable of that, you know? And
yeah, sure.
You know, he would always tell me that. And then he would even say to guys, like he had this one guy, Mike Cadillac, Mikey, what the hell was it? Well, anyway, he was a wise guy with my father's crew, original crew from Albert Anastasia days. He used to go to church every Sunday, this guy, which is fine. You know, I go to church too. Guys used to go to church every Sunday. So one day we were on Mulberry Street and they were talking about going to a wedding. And the guy told my father, I'm not going to go to the reception, but I'm going to go to the church. So when the guy walked away, my father said to me, I wonder if he went to church when he went out to LA and killed those two people. Like he did something really vicious in LA for the family, you know, for the Gambino family. That's what kind of hitman this guy was. He was like a specialty guy, and they sent him out to LA, you know, and the guy goes to church every Sunday. So their mindset, you know, they believe in that life so much that that's okay. You know, that's not hypocritical. So I went to LA and I killed somebody. You know, that's just the mindset of murders. You know, that's how we were raised.
You know, it's funny. I tell people now, and they look at me like, but think about it. Like, yeah, all right, I could do a murder, but I feel worse when I hurt someone's feelings. You know what I mean by that? Yeah, the regular side of me, I don't want to hurt no one's feelings. But if I got to do what I got to do, I'm going to do it.
Am I sorry that I did what I did? No, I'm sorry that it changed my whole life. You know what I mean? It changed the whole trajectory of my life. You know, do I wish I could go back in time and not do it? Yeah, I probably do. You know, but I did it. It happened. You know, and you know, I had to go through what I had to go through to get where I am. You know, to get where I was going to go. You know what I mean? Maybe this is where I was meant to be. Who the hell knows? I don't know. And you know, do I miss that life? Yeah, sometimes I do. I'm sure you do too. Sometimes I miss it. I miss the respect. I miss getting in a limo, going to see a Broadway play. You know what I mean? Well,
actually, I adjusted. I like waiting 3 hours in a restaurant for a table. It's pretty cool.
No, I don't like that.
I don't do that anyway. I'm only kidding.
Yeah. At that stage of my life, I was all in. It didn't even faze me. Yeah. I was all in. I was all in. You know, I was all in. I did my part. You know, it was just something that was accepted. It was something that we knew that we had to do. It's something that you knew eventually you were going to have to, if you want, you know, you were going to have to do it. You know what I mean? And yeah, I just, you know, I had no issue. Even before that, when I was involved in other conspiracies where I knew people were going to get murdered, you know, it was just like, you know, once they told me this kid, Frankie Geesh, was going to get clipped and I had to set him up, you know, like I had no issue with it. I set him up. He didn't show up. He ran away. He must have got wind of something, because when I was waiting for him to drive him somewhere where Jeannie and Johnny Caniglia were going to murder him, he didn't show up. So when my father told me Frankie Geesh got to go, like I just said, all right, you know, like it wasn't even a thought process. I just said, all right. It was like, you know, that was our job.
Well, for me, you got to remember, and we talked about this the last time me and Anthony got together, you got to lie. You got to lie to yourself. Yeah. So I was totally in. Didn't matter. I was going to do whatever I had to do because I already lied to myself. You know, you talk about selling your soul. Well, I like to think I just, you know, pawned it. Now I reclaimed it. I went with my ticket.
Well, I'll tell you
But you can't do that. You can't go to that level and get involved in things like that if you have any apprehensions. It's like trying to hit a baseball. If you think about hitting a baseball, you're not going to hit it.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that's about it. We touched on everything. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in to Reformed Gangsters. Stay tuned for our next session. And Tommy, it's always a pleasure seeing you.
Likewise, Anthony. Likewise.
And you're as flashy as ever. And I'll see you soon, all right?
All right, pal.